I've come a long way since January, when my first time reciting poetry here was pretty sad sack, very depressing. So this is on a more upbeat subject that I have been a victim of lately. This is called catfishing. I went on a date last night. I met him on Plenty of Fish. His profile seemed perfect, was everything for which I could wish. His words gently smoldered with everlasting promise of physique, looks, and build that would shame an Adonis. His photos depicted a ruggedly handsome man, images of him boating and golfing, and of a trip he took to Japan. His description of build stated average, and that he liked to go to the gym, and that he was almost 6 feet tall and preferred women who were fit and slim. His interests included many, a few of which I shared. He said he was widowed from his wife, for whom he had deeply cared. His kids were grown, his time was free, he was looking for a life mate. So I eagerly replied and set up a time to meet for our very first date. The day arrived and I perused my closet for an outfit fit to please. Not too slutty, not too frumpy, but just enough to tease. Time was taken over styling hair and makeup applied just right. Should I shave my legs in anticipation of a hot and steamy night? A one-night stand is not the norm, not on the top of my list, but like a scout, be prepared not to regret an opportunity missed. He could be the one, the answer to all my prayers. He could be the other half of my soul, for whom I've searched everywhere. My best friend, my lover, my trusty confidant, the one who fills my every need and provides all I could ever want. My mind roams to places that for years had reposed in hibernation, of wedding bells and kiss and tell, and forever in delicious elation. I checked my reflection, slicked on lip gloss, and jumped into my car, and drove to the place where we would meet, while wishing on every star. I slipped up the steps to the bar, my thighs were a-quiver with lust, wondering if we'd make out in my car as I pushed out my miniature bust. Location busy, people milling, chatter filled the room. I scanned the scene, but he wasn't there. I hoped he'd get there soon. And as I waited, feeling deflated, my thoughts turned to those of dejection. Had I been stood up? Was he a no-show? Was I the victim of rejection? As reality dawned, I stifled a yawn and started heading to the door, when a voice called out from somewhere low, and I turned and looked to the floor, where a short man stood, beaming up, extending his pudgy hand. "Hi, Andrea, it's me, your date." I waited for him to stand. But there was no chair. There was more scalp than hair, and I gulped and looked all around. There must be a mistake. This can't be my date, this dwarf who is short and so round. I thought he'd escaped from the circus. I glanced around for the ringmaster. Even in my heels, if I took off, I knew that I could run much faster than his little legs could carry him. I resisted the urge to sneer. "Do you want to get a glass of wine, or perhaps a nice craft beer?" "What the heck," I reasoned. "I can patronize this hobbit. But if he makes any sexual moves, I'll do a Lorena Bobbitt." And so I tactfully asked him why. His profile was clearly of another guy. And how, if he was almost 6 feet tall, he only stood as high as my thigh. He claimed it was a typo, that he meant to write 4'6". And when I pressed him about the gym, he said he just wrote that for kicks. That the last time he ran on a treadmill, he had had a most terrible fall when he couldn't reach the stop button. I went flying into the ladies' shower stall. Wine snorted out my nose as I tried to stifle laughter. and his forlorn face realized that this was not happily ever after. I wanted to leave when one drink was had, but seduced a thought, oh so bad, to let him buy drinks again and again until I was drunk and he looked 5 feet 10. Although I was angry and disappointed for being tricked by this Keebler elf, I hoped that one day he would meet a little lady and not be left up on the shelf.